In the rolling green hills of Costa Rica, life moved in its familiar rhythm, warm and bright like the sun that crowned its mountains. For 21-year-old Valeria Valverde, life was filled with dreams still blooming, roads yet to be traveled, and hopes stretched wide across the horizon. But all of that changed one afternoon with a single, terrible accident. Riding her bicycle, free and full of life, Valeria lost control and crashed, suffering a devastating blow to her head. In an instant, the world that had been so full of promise was reduced to the sterile hum of a hospital room, where machines breathed for her and monitors blinked their cold lights. Doctors rushed to treat her, but the diagnosis they delivered was one that no mother, no father, no family should ever have to hear. Valeria had sustained a severe brain hemorrhage. The injury was catastrophic, and the chances of her survival were heartbreakingly small. Even if she did survive, the doctors warned grimly, the damage could be permanent. She might never awaken, never speak, never walk again. The hospital became a place of sorrow, thick with grief and unanswered questions. Days blurred into nights under the harsh fluorescent lights, where prayers clung to the walls and tears soaked the bedsheets. Valeria's mother, broken but refusing to lose hope, turned not to despair, but to heaven. She knew in her soul that where human strength failed, divine mercy could still prevail. And so she did what any mother of faith would do. She reached out beyond this world to the communion of saints. In her heart burned the name of a young boy she had come to know, a boy who had already touched countless souls with his gentle life. Blessed Carlo Acutis. Carlo, the teenager from Italy who had loved the Eucharist with such fierce devotion, who had once said, "To always be close to Jesus, that's my life plan," now became the lifeline for a mother clinging to hope. Valeria's mother prayed with a desperation that only a mother could know, pouring out her heart in front of a small image of Carlo, pleading for his intercession. She begged Carlo to see her daughter, to lift her plea before the throne of God, to ask Jesus to heal the precious life slipping away before her eyes. But her prayer did not stop in Costa Rica. With courage born of faith, she traveled across the ocean to Italy, to Assisi, to the tomb where Carlo's body rested in quiet holiness beneath the gentle gaze of heaven. There, in that sacred place, she knelt and wept, her hands trembling, her soul laid bare before God. She did not ask for signs or visions. She asked only for a miracle of love, believing with the pure trust of a child that God, through Carlo's prayer, could reach across the heavens and touch her daughter's broken body. Back in the hospital room, as Valeria's mother prayed before Carlo's tomb thousands of miles away, a silence hung heavy. Machines hissed and clicked, their mechanical breath filling the air where Valeria's own lungs could not. Doctors continued their careful monitoring, speaking in low tones, preparing the family for the inevitable. Science had already written its grim prediction. They saw no chance, no path to recovery, only a slow farewell. Yet heaven was writing a different story, one invisible to medical charts and brain scans, but no less real. In the eyes of faith, no situation is hopeless, for God delights in raising life from death, hope from despair. And as Valeria's mother knelt before Blessed Carlo's resting place, offering her heartache like a sacrifice, something began to change. It started so small that the nurses thought they must be mistaken. A slight flicker, a tremor in Valeria's chest, then another. Without any human intervention, Valeria began to breathe. Not weak, struggling gasps, but strong, steady breaths. The machines still beeped and blinked, recording what no one dared yet to believe. Doctors rushed to her side, adjusting the tubes, checking the monitors again and again, bewildered by what they saw. Within hours, The impossible unfolded before their eyes. Valeria not only breathed independently, she began to show signs of full consciousness. She moved her limbs. She opened her eyes. Her gaze, once blank and lost, now fixed with clarity and recognition. Those in the room could hardly speak, so stunned were they by the sudden reversal of what had seemed inevitable death. The news traveled through the hospital corridors like a rising wind. Nurses wept openly. Physicians, trained to rely only on what they could measure and explain, found themselves shaking their heads, unable to deny that something far beyond human power had taken place. Brain scans, performed urgently to understand what was happening, revealed something even more shocking. The massive hemorrhage that had been the dark cloud over Valeria's future was gone, vanished, erased. No medical intervention had been able to touch it, yet now, without warning, it was simply not there anymore. Where death had taken hold, life returned. Where science had prepared for mourning, faith celebrated a resurrection. The transformation was so complete, so swift, that it defied every medical expectation. Valeria, who had been lying lifeless and broken, stood up. She walked. Not with faltering steps, not with heavy machinery assisting her, but with the strong, confident steps of one who had been given back the gift of life by the loving hand of God. Her family, overwhelmed with emotion, clung to each other, crying and laughing at once. The nurses who had cared for her shook their heads, smiled through tears, and some even crossed themselves, humbled before a mystery they could not explain. It was not just a recovery, it was a miracle, pure and breathtaking, unmistakable even to those who had tried to prepare their hearts for disappointment. As Valeria's mother returned from Italy, unaware of what had already begun, she found her daughter not only alive, but healed. Her prayers at Blessed Carlo's tomb had not fallen into silence. They had been gathered into the merciful heart of Jesus and answered in a way so powerful that it would soon shake the whole Catholic world. What had happened in that small hospital room in Costa Rica was no coincidence, no accident of medicine. It was heaven answering earth's cry. It was a mother's love reaching heaven's throne through the intercession of a boy who had loved Jesus more than life itself. And it was a sign that God still walks among his people, still listens, still performs wonders when hearts trust completely in him. The world would soon come to know the miracle that had unfolded in silence, far from cameras, in a simple hospital room where faith had touched eternity. As news of Valeria Valverde's complete and sudden healing spread, it was not only the faithful who marveled, but doctors and medical experts who had witnessed it firsthand. The Church, in her great wisdom and caution, opened a formal investigation into the event. Every medical record, every doctor's testimony, every brain scan was pored over meticulously. And time after time, the evidence pointed to the same undeniable truth. There was no natural explanation. The hemorrhage had been so severe that death, or at best permanent unconsciousness, was expected. Yet Valeria not only survived, she thrived, healed in a way that defied every known law of science. It was a miracle, clear and pure, shining like a beacon in a skeptical world. In Rome, the case was presented carefully before panels of medical experts, theologians, and church authorities. They probed, they questioned, they searched for alternative answers, but none could be found. Finally, in a decision that sent waves of joy through the Catholic world, Pope Francis officially recognized the healing of Valeria Valverde as the second miracle attributed to the intercession of Blessed Carlo Acutis. It was the final step needed for his canonization, the recognition that this young man, this ordinary boy with extraordinary love for the Eucharist, was truly a saint in heaven, a powerful intercessor for souls on earth. And it was not just a recognition of a miraculous event, it was a confirmation that holiness is alive, real, and burning brightly in our time, in our world. Valeria's healing became more than just a medical wonder. It became a living testament to the power of prayer, to the tender mercy of God, and to the loving maternal intercession of Mary, under whose mantle all miracles are born. It reminded millions that the saints are not distant figures trapped in stained glass windows, but real friends, walking closely with us through every trial and sorrow. Carlo Acutis, who had once said, "The Eucharist is my highway to heaven," now pointed once again toward the living Jesus, hidden but alive in the Blessed Sacrament, ready to pour out rivers of mercy for those who ask with humble hearts. And in Valeria's own life, the miracle became a mission. No longer simply a survivor, she became a witness, proof that miracles are not relics of the ancient church, but gifts that still flow today through the tender hands of the saints. She walks now not just with healed legs, but with a heart forever marked by the love of a God who heard a mother's desperate prayer and answered with lavish grace. Every step she takes is a silent song of praise. Every breath she draws a living testimony to the power of intercession, the glory of God, and the gentle but overwhelming love of heaven for earth. As the Church prepares to declare Carlo Acutis a saint for the universal Church, his life and miracles invite each of us to remember that sanctity is not beyond reach. It is not locked away for the few. It is near as our next Mass, our next rosary, our next act of hidden love. Carlo's life teaches us that holiness does not mean perfection without failure. It means loving Jesus so much that even our smallest actions shine with his light. And Valeria's miraculous healing reminds us that when we entrust our brokenness to the saints, they run to the heart of Jesus on our behalf with a speed and power that shakes even the strongest walls of death and despair. In the end, this miracle is not just Valeria's story. It is our story, the story of a God who still moves mountains, who still works wonders through his humble servants, and who, through the prayers of a teenage boy from Assisi, reminds the world that love is stronger than death. Carlo Acutis, friend of Jesus and friend of youth, now walks among the great cloud of witnesses, smiling down on a world he loved so much, still inviting each of us to step onto the highway of the Eucharist and to follow him all the way to heaven.